write Chronicles 1 and Chronicles 2 to purify the history of Israel, to try and inspire people to be more holy. That's not the way it is. The redacting history is not the way it's supposed to be. And the only reason why we have Chronicles 1 and Chronicles 2 is to tell us this was the mistake that was made. And it comes at this point. So you should know the story of the Bible so far. And then when you read Chronicles 1 and Chronicles 2, suddenly it's a completely different story. Everything that we've been talking about chronologically in order is gone. That whole story is covered up, missed. The whole point has been missed. All it's about now is simply that God chose this special holy nation to make them into a kingdom, and they were a holy kingdom. They had holy kings, and God was well pleased with them. And sure, there were some wicked people, and they got exiled, but because God was well pleased with them, they came back and sent his Messiah, Cyrus the Great, who said, go back and make Aliyah. The end. It's a very different story. It's not the story of the Bible as we know it. And guess what? It failed. Nehemiah was angry about the meager temple that was restored, and he went around and he found that people were not inspired to do holy things because people just didn't feel up to the mark. Having this fake version of history given to them made them feel like, okay, we're God's chosen holy people, we don't have to try. It totally failed. It was a complete failure. And Nehemiah basically is saying in the end, well, at least I tried. Yeah, well, it wasn't a very good way you tried, Nehemiah. You really did a bad job. Malachi comes along and says, this is real failure. At this point, Malachi, you should read the prophet Malachi. Malachi basically comes along and says, this is a total and utter failure. This is a complete and utter failure. But God has chosen a remnant. There is a chosen remnant, and God is going to turn it all around with his remnant. So Malachi is important for the future. So Zechariah, Malachi, Daniel, Ezekiel, and Isaiah are the ones you need to focus on for the future. Everybody else has been fulfilled. Then you've got the prophet Joel. This is really the right time. How do we know that Joel comes after Malachi rather than Malachi after Joel? Because Joel actually quotes from Malachi, and that's how we know that he comes next. And Joel is concerned about some terrible attack, an army of locusts which are going to come upon Israel, and he prays for repentance. He gets the people to pray for deliverance from this. God was going to heal everything. He has the vision that God is going to restore everything. Everything is going to be averted. The people are going to be saved from the army of locusts, and God is actually going to heal it. He's going to turn it all around. So Joel is actually, and his people are actually representing the chosen remnant that Malachi talked about. But not just Joel, who are the praying side. You also have a secular side who are also going to turn it around. People who are good people in exile. So that after Joel, you have the story of Esther. And Esther actually explains exactly what is this locust army that Joel was concerned about and they were praying for deliverance from. And the story of Esther basically lets us know that Haman had a plan to destroy all the Jews, to kill all the Jews. And he got his plan going, but Esther basically managed from her own, I suppose, courage. She prayed for strength from the Lord, and she was encouraged and given strength and managed to convince the Persian emperor, the Shahanshah, the king of kings, not to exterminate the Jews, but to give the Jews a fighting chance. And so that day, which was supposed to be the day where, the day of the Lord, where the locust army was supposed to come, turned out that the locusts were turned against themselves and they were all converted. And so Joel's prophecy came true. Joel saw what was going to happen, and with Esther, it all came true. And that's basically the end of the story. And the final book in the Septuagint story is the book of Sirach, who is Jesus, Ben Sirach. He's actually called Jesus. And he is giving some wisdom for us to understand how things are. He's important because what we understand in Sirach's time is that there was another invasion. The Macedonians had invaded after Esther. After Esther's time, the Persians have been replaced by the Macedonians, and Sirach is giving us a message there. And that's basically the end of the Septuagint as it was. There would be no more books in the Septuagint translation as it was given to the Ptolemaic leader. So Sirach is all the wisdom, a collection and a summary of all the wisdom which you can take from the Bible. Okay, and it should be spiritual religious wisdom. You should read Sirach in a spiritual religious way. Then, of course, after that, though, the Maccabees come along, because although the